Hello and welcome to tutorial 118 in this series of programs and tutorials that focus on TradeStation EasyLanguage. In this tutorial we're going to be looking a little more at the syntax of methods. And before we do that, first of all, a word about methods. A method in the context of TradeStation EasyLanguage is a inline piece of code which can be called from within the program. So for example, you can write the method once and then call it several times. So it's got some advantages there in that you're writing once and using several times. Let me just, for the purpose of this tutorial, what I've done is created a method that calculates a linear regression and then draws a line demonstrating that or showing the linear regression for a certain number of bars. But it's not too important as to what the method does. It's more the syntax that we're going to be looking at. And we're going to be looking at three different scenarios. So let me just go to the program, and I'm going to divide these into three different videos. And what I've done is created the program and then I've commented out two of the scenarios. In the first scenario, we're going to be using 4 inputs and we're not going to have an output. We're going to have, the method is going to be void, as you can see here, the syntax. In the second scenario, which I've got commented out at the moment, we're going to again have 4 inputs, but this time we're going to have 1 output returned. And you'll see here that we get this method double instead of the void. And then the third scenario, again, which I have commented out at the moment, we're again going to have the 4 inputs, but in this case we're going to have 2 outputs returned. Okay, so let's just start by looking at the first scenario. Now, in terms of the calculation, I'm not going to go through that for the linear regression, but if you go to tutorial 49, you'll see that I've explained that there. Okay, so the general format of a method is we have the word method followed by void or double or integer or whatever sort of value we're going to get returned. In this case, we're not returning a value, so we just have void. Then we have the name of the method, and then we have the parameters. And in each case, we have a word to explain what sort of parameter it is: integer, string, double, etc. Then the name of the parameter. And in this case, we've got the start bar, which is an integer, the number of bars that we're calculating the linear regression over, which again is an integer. Then we've got a string, which is going to be the color of the line that we're drawing. And then we've got an integer TL weight, which is going to be the weight of the line that we're drawing. Then having done that, we have our variable statement. Now the notable thing here is you'll notice we're putting the type of each variable, but what we're not doing is we're not giving it an initial value. So if we were to try and do something like this, we would get an error, because you don't do that with methods. It's simply the name of the variable and the type. And that also applies to objects, for example, trend lines and BM points. And we are going to be using some of those in this program. Okay, so the method, void, double, whatever, the name of the method, followed by round brackets, and then the parameters separated by commas, then the variables, and following that, we have a begin end statement, and this is what contains the calculation. So in our case, we go begin, then we're calculating the linear regression, and we're actually also drawing a line for the linear regression. So we're defining bn.1, bn.2, and then we're using those to create a trend line, which ultimately we're adding to the chart. Now that is the definition of the method. We then have to call the method, and we're doing that here. We're doing it on the last bar on chart. We're doing it once, and we're calling the method, in this case, using the name of the method, which is linreg, and then the values that we're going to be using, which is 3 bars ago, 10 bars, calculating the linear regression, the color, and the thickness of the line. And then we're printing some information. Now, this information is going to become more relevant as we look at the other scenarios. But what I'm going to do here is verify the program and go to the chart. And I'm just going to refresh this, make sure that it's up to date. And so you'll see if this is the 0 bar, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's the first bar that we're going to be considering, and then we're calculating linear regression, drawing the line over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bars, which is also the input to the method. Now I mentioned that the print is going to become more relevant. You'll notice here that the slope and the intercept are both showing 0. So let's just go back to the program, and you'll see here we've got the slope and the intercept, but the relevant thing here is that these are both at the moment variables for the program. In other words, double slope and double intercept, they are local to the method. So these values are essentially we're printing the intercept inter and the slope from value 2. Both of those are 0 at the moment because we're not really using those values. If we were to try and access some of the variables that are local to this method, for example, by using the keyword intercept, which is local to the method, we're going to see that we're going to get an error because that value is not available to the wider program, because in actual fact it's local to the method, it's not global. So we need to go back to inter, which is just another value that I created, which is actually relevant throughout the program because I've set it up at the very top as a variable, not inside the method. Okay, so that's a brief overview of the first method we're going to be looking at, the method that uses doesn't return any value, returns void. In the next 2 videos, we're going to be looking at a method that returns a value, and then the following one we're going to be looking at a method that returns 2 values. Okay, thank you.